All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thank you for joining us today. So it's another Saturday, another session from the Power Platform Learner to Leader community. So this is Arash Aghajani. I'm a Microsoft MVP and community leader from Vancouver, Canada. So today I have two special guests. And we are actually fortunate that we have these two amazing speakers, Smita Nachan and Nanddeep Nachan. So hopefully you get most valuable insight, from today's session, and get most actually from our speakers today. So the today's session is around how to build SharePoint Copilot with Microsoft Copilot Studio, and Smita and Nanddeep will talk about this session and kick off this session today. They are both Microsoft MVP and around the Microsoft 365, two categories actually, Microsoft 365 and AI platform. And this is our October session lineup. So next week we will have Natasha, and she will be speaking around the Power Automate flows and how to handle the error and logging the error in the Power Automate flow. It should be also a great session for our learners. So let's just a quick introduction to our Microsoft Learn community. The Microsoft Learn community offers various ways for learners to connect with peers and experts to enhance their expertise and achieve career goals. It includes the Microsoft Learn Hub for updates and discussion, and learning rooms for direct engagement on specific topics. So Power Platform Learner to Leader is one of the Microsoft Learning Room, which has more than 2,000 members. We are sharing the latest information about the Power Platform in our Learning Room, and also conduct this series of session every Saturday for Power Platform enthusiasts. So if you are not member of our tech community, join through this link, aka.ms/join PPLTL, Power Platform Learner to Leader. And the last, not the last, the next slide is around our code of conduct as ever for our session. So Microsoft aims to empower everyone globally through knowledge sharing and events, ensure a respectful and inclusive environment for all. Harassment or degrading behavior is not tolerated, and everyone is responsible for upholding these standards. The code of conduct encourages awareness, friendliness, respect, openness, understanding, and kindness. And before we begin, a few important things here. If you have any question during the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat box, and we will have a dedicated Q&A session towards at the end. Actually, we are live into three destinations now. One is through the StreamYard platform, and two destination is LinkedIn Live and the YouTube Live. So if you have any question, please put in the chat box in both in this three platforms. So we will catch this question and answer to this question at the end of the session. And the next note here is this session is being recorded for those who couldn't join us live and will be available shortly in Power Platform Learner to Leader YouTube channel. And the last things here is about the AI skills challenge. So it's running correctly and currently, and it's hosted by Microsoft Learn. So it's started from the September 24th, and it will be continue until the end of the November 1st, end of the day of November 1st. So if you haven't registered and joined to this challenge, please join through this link aka.ms/AI skills challenge. So you will get things around, and learn actually around the AI skills, around the Copilot Studio, Azure AI, and 6 categories there that you can level up your skills around the AI and those topics through the AI skills challenge. And then at the end, you will get the badges from the Microsoft Lab. So that's it at my end. So without any delay, I'm going to hand it over to Nanddeep and Smita. Let me add them to the stage. Hello and welcome.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you very much for
My
having us.
favorite
All right.
speakers. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Thank you. How about you?
Good, good. Nice to meet you, guys.
Yeah,
And yeah,
same
stage
here,
on
same here.
yours. You can start your presentation. So, and we are going to
Yeah,
learn something new around the Copilot in SharePoint environment.
sure. All right. So, thank you everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, and welcome to another session at Power Platform Learner Tool Leader. And we are quite excited to showcase our demo-oriented session on building SharePoint Copilot with Microsoft Copilot Studio. Again, just before this, I was in a discussion with Anish, and he was saying like this is kind of a functionality which is coming to SharePoint itself, so that you can select the bunch of documents in SharePoint itself, and then there will be an option to go ahead and create your Copilot based out of those documents that you have selected. It will create a semantic index based on that, and then from there you will be able to do do the analysis or maybe question answering on those kind of an selection of the documents that you have done there. So again, until that comes generally available, probably during the time you can use this solution, wherein we are showcasing like how we will be able to use SharePoint as a data source for empowering the conversations through Microsoft Copilot Studio using those chatbots. Okay, so because the only reason is like SharePoint has been here for almost 2 decades. We have been using SharePoint very hugely, and again we have got lot many information, lot many data into SharePoint, and it is ever growing. Okay, so the only thing like when it comes to SharePoint is probably the search that we have got in SharePoint is it is still keyword based search, but so probably that is where this Copilot Studio or at least this Microsoft Copilot or even Microsoft 365 Copilot will help you to overcome that limitation that we have got. And then again, we'll be able to do the semantics index based search on that. So what is mean by that is probably it will not just do the keyword to keyword kind of an match and give you the result, but it will go beyond and it will try to search across everything which is related. Okay, so our session will be focusing around like until SharePoint Copilot comes out into the GA version, probably you can keep using this kind of an alternative. And secondly, also we will show like how Microsoft SharePoint list can be used along with Microsoft Copilot Studio, so that even they can be beneficial to get your answers. Because mostly like I have seen many of the organization who store the information into SharePoint list, maybe just question answer kind of a thing, title description, and they just put the information there. But again, we can make that information talk to us by using this Copilot Studio. And again, we will talk about some of the security aspects and everything. All right. So that is kind of an exciting thing that we are going to discuss. Hopefully that has set the context for our session. And with that, let's begin. So quick introduction. Myself, Nanddeep Nachan. I'm from Pune, India. I'm Microsoft MVP for M365 and AI platform, as well as I'm TOGAF certified. I'm author of these three books that you can see on the screen: SharePoint Framework, SharePoint Hybrid, as well as Microsoft Viva Connections. As well, I do exist on Twitter, LinkedIn. Please go ahead and send me a connection request, and we'll be more than happy to discuss further with you on that. I do have my blog website mentioned here as well as my YouTube channel. So for any discussions around this topic or anything in general, please feel free to get connected and we'll discuss more on this. And with me today is Smita.
Hello, myself Smita Nachan. Greetings from Pune, India. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I'm author of these two books, and these are some of my social handles by which you can get in touch with me. So mainly, I'm working in Microsoft 365 for last more than 15 years.
All right, so let's get started. So before we get started with the actual thing, I just wanted to have the lighter version kind of a thing, like lighter kind of a discussion to get ahead. So we have been using generative AI a lot these days. So generative AI is nothing but we already have huge data, and then on top of that data, all the information that we have got across internet, various articles, blogs, and everything, even our own databases probably or data sources specifically. On top of that, we can use LLM kind of an capabilities, for example, GPT-3, GPT-4, GPT-4o nowadays, and it can help you generate more content based on the existing already content that we have got. So, which is just a general kind of a definition of generative AI. So this is just one kind of an meme that I came across when it comes to generative AI. Like there is one person who probably just have got one bullet point of information, but he wants to pretend that at least he knows more of the information, and he just trying to use this AI, generative AI, to turn that single bullet point into the long email so that he can pretend like he has written that long email. Okay, so this is how generative AI is used. Probably not a best use case how we are using generative AI, but maybe just a lighter note like how this is being used. But now the second part of this is the other person who is sitting on the other end of the receiving end. Even that person is smarter. He or she makes use of AI to make that entire long email into a single bullet point. Okay, so the information started from a single point, and again it ended into the single bullet endpoint. Okay, so this is not exactly how we should use generative AI, but I just wanted to share this with you, so that probably you can find some better use cases of using generative AI and not something like this. Okay, so since we are talking about generative AI, let me maybe just try to get some background of it, and then let's see like what is mean by this LLM generative AI, and then let's see like where everything fits into our entire ecosystem. So again, for that, I came across one of the thing called as the Chinese room argument. So it is one of the best stories on how we see AI. Okay, so maybe just imagine that
Sorry,
one
Nanddeep.
which is
Sorry for interrupting you. So there, I think there is an issue with your internet connection. So it's
oh, okay,
we don't
then
have
no.
your voice clearly here.
Okay, is it better now?
Uh,
Probably it could be my internet, and then I just have to turn off my video so that
okay,
at
it's
least
a
it will
little
be
bit
able to
better.
use the bandwidth. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, okay. So hopefully StreamYard doesn't like my video on. All
No,
right.
no, it's
So let's go ahead. Okay. So the thing which I was trying to say here, like let's start this discussion with something called as a Chinese room argument, which is one of the best stories that we can have around like how we can see AI. So this person which is into this room, just imagine that this person is you who have been trapped into a room, and onto the left side of this room we have got one small window, in window, and again onto the right side of this room we have got out window. Okay, so what happens generally is there's a one person who is onto the left side of this window, and he just throw one ball into this bucket which has got one symbol. Okay, so your role is just to look at the dictionary, a big dictionary which is located in the middle of this room, translate this particular symbol to the corresponding symbol, pick up that ball from here, and then throw that ball at the other person who is onto the other side of the window. Okay, so that means technically you're just doing the job of LLM, because LLM kind of does similar kind of a thing. It gets the information from there, from somewhere. It just tries to map everything based on the semantic index that has been generated, and then it gives you the information back there. Okay, so this is how probably LLM kind of work. So here you can realize that you are communicating with the people outside using probably Chinese characters. So you have no clue about the actual conversation. So all that you're doing is you are using the instruction manual which is here to pass the messages back and forth. Okay, so and you certainly don't understand Chinese. Okay, so the American philosopher John Searle, he used this thought experiment to argue that even if a computer can process and produce human-like responses, and it doesn't necessarily need to understand in the same way that human can understand. Okay, so in similar cases, those LLM or Chat GPT, despite of all those advanced capabilities, doesn't truly understand the information that it is processing at this moment, but it provides the responses to it, and it essentially matching the patterns based on the training data which has been provided to them. Okay, so this is just like how I may not understand Chinese or philosophy, but I can still retell a good story about both. Okay, so this is just the Chinese room argument. Okay, so now that let's get into the technical part of it, and then let's understand how Microsoft 365 Copilot is based out of this story.
So let's jump into it and let's understand what is the Microsoft 365 Copilot and how does it work exactly. Okay, so this Microsoft 365 Copilot is your copilot for your work. So this Microsoft 365 Copilot is sophisticated processing and orchestration engine that provides the AI powered productivity capabilities. So at a fundamental level, Copilot has a few core components. So the first one, LLM, the large language models. So the Copilot is more than OpenAI ChatGPT embedded into Microsoft 365. So it is a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine working behind the scenes to combine the power of LLMs, including GPT-4, with the Microsoft 365 apps and your business data in the Microsoft Graph that is now accessible to everyone through natural language. The second one is the content in Microsoft Graph, such as emails, chats, and documents that you have permission to access. Then the third one, the Microsoft 365 apps that you can use every day, such as Word and PowerPoint, let's say Excel, Outlook, Teams, Loop, and many more. So it operates with Copilot to support the user in the context of their work. So the Copilot combines the power of large language models with the data. So your data in the Microsoft Graph and the knowledge of internet. So not just at a time point in time when the large language model was trained, but real time up to date knowledge. So it can be accessed through natural language across all your Microsoft 365 apps to turn your words into the most powerful productive tool on the planet. Now, let's go ahead and see how we can just extend Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365. So, the Copilot for Microsoft 365 helps the people to work better with Microsoft programs like Word, Excel, as well as Outlook. So, it looks good at tasks like understanding, summarizing, predicting, as well as the translating. So it uses the information from your organization files and messages to do this task. But most business tasks don't only use the Microsoft 365. So with Copilot extensibility, you can add the extra abilities and the knowledge that fit your business. So this make it possible for the Copilot to do even more amazing things for your organization. So you can make a Copilot better suited to your needs by turning your own apps into the tools that work with it. So also you can give a Copilot more information from your company by connecting it to your data through Microsoft Graph connectors. So let's say that is x-axis and the y-axis. So the x-axis is to expand your organizational knowledge. So the ground Copilot in your organization's content and the data to create even a deeper insights as well as the connections. When it's come to the y-axis, so y-axis represents it extends the user skills. So to connect the Copilot to the application you work with plugins to streamline your everyday task as well as the activity. So this Microsoft 365 Copilot extensibility enables you to expand your organization's AI powered productivity capacity as well as the creativity. So at the same time, it preserves the trust as a co-pilot operates within your organization's security and compliance boundaries and adheres to Microsoft responsible AI standard. Now, let's go ahead and see this one.
So now that let's talk about the extensibility options that you have got and where you can fit yourself while you're developing those Copilot. Okay, so you can customize Copilot for Microsoft 365 in different ways using external services, apps, and data. So if you want to create your own connector or plugin, you can choose the tools and SDKs which best suit your needs. Okay, so let's say for example we start from here. So first question probably you can ask yourself like, are you a Power Platform user or do you want to connect to your data? If in case the answer to that is yes, so that means good. You can simply just go ahead create a Power Platform connector to connect to your external data, and that's it. So which we simply call it as a Power Platform connectors, and then you already can plug in that as a Copilot extension. Secondly, for example, your data is probably into the external system somewhere, maybe ServiceNow or any of the other ticketing tool or any of the other system which is beyond Microsoft 365. In that case, definitely you can make use of something called as a Microsoft Graph connectors. So this graph connector will help you to bring the data from the external systems into your Microsoft 365 ecosystem, index that data, and then on top of that, you will be able to connect to that data in Microsoft Search, Context IQ, and Microsoft 365 apps as well. Okay. The third option that we have got is probably, for example, if you are using Microsoft Teams and there you specifically have created something called as a messaging extension. So, for example, if you already have the messaging extension, then that's it. Those can be acted as a uh, extensibility for your Copilot. Okay. So the option that we are going to evaluate today or explore more is this option number one. So we are going to see like how we'll be able to use this Copilot Studio specifically to go ahead and extend the capability of Copilot and create our own Copilots. Okay. So for that, let's see. So we were going to divide that into three segments. First thing is we will see how we'll be able to use the documents, specifically document libraries that we have got into the SharePoint. Because as we discussed at the beginning of this session, we have huge amount of data in SharePoint, and then obviously when we want to talk to that data in SharePoint in the form of documents, how we can create this Copilot. And secondly, the list kind of a data where we just have got structured data by defining those content types and list, how we will be able to talk to that. And then thirdly, we will see like how we can bring some kind of security on top of that. So these are the three things that we are going to discuss now. Okay, so first thing, let's start with the SharePoint Copilot, how you'll be able to do that with your documents. No.
So,
All right.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, there
Yes.
is some network problem. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's due to the heavy rains. There is some network problem is also going on. So let's see why
No, no.
this is the SharePoint as a data source. So the first thing is we all know that it's been a decade that the organizational trust with the SharePoint. So SharePoint has been preferred as a content management solution for the various organizations. It also helps the organization to collect all the information at one place. Also, your sensitive data remains protected while being utilized by Copilot Studio. Also, you can perform the indexing, and also you can having a search functionality. With that, let's go ahead and check one example. So before going into the actual demo and how we are going to do the setup, first I would like to discuss the solution architect diagram over here. So let's say one example, we are going to show you that we are going to create one travel copilot, and the name of the travel copilot will be the Margit Travels. So we will have one SharePoint site. In the SharePoint site, we will have a document library, and then with the help of Copilot, we are going to show you the real time data as per the questions which are going to ask for the end user. Okay, so why do we ask these questions? So to have a bigger picture of your Copilot projects and its integration in a broader technical as well as a functional landscape, it will be good to have this kind of information. And what exactly the information we are looking for over here, that is the architecture diagram, then the functional and technical overview of the Copilot and its integration in the broader technical landscape. Okay, so let's say over here we have a Margit Travels, one side. Inside that we have one document library. It contains all of the PDF files which contains the data details about the city exploration, hotel accommodation. Then you can use this Copilot. Copilot will help you to get the data from the SharePoint as well as from the website, and then it will help you to show that information in any of the channel as well as on the teams. So there are different channels available where you can just go ahead and show your data like a teams, the intranet, or some of the SharePoint pages also. So we will show you all of the possible options. So the next thing is our sample document library. So this is how the SharePoint document library looks like, as we have created one document library where we are storing all the PDFs, and the PDF is having all the details about this city exploration as well as the hotel accommodation. So whenever now once we create our travel copilot and we will ask the information to the travel copilot, it will give us the information where we will able to see some of the citations also. And when the time we will mouse over on that citation, it will give us the reference that the result it is showing from this particular document library. Okay, so for that purpose, let's go ahead and see how we can create a copilot in Microsoft Copilot Studio. So over here, you have to first navigate to Microsoft Copilot Studio. So the link is copilotstudio.microsoft.com. So once you go there, then after that from here, you can just create a new Copilot also. We already have created the one Copilot. So once you go over here, you have to provide some of the things, some of the settings you have to do. And once you are done with that setting, after that, you can just create your copilot. So like you have to provide a name of that copilot, then you have to provide some of this description for that copilot, and then the knowledge that means, for example, you have to add the files from where you are going to fetch that data. So in our case it is a SharePoint. Okay, so this way you can create a quickly one of the copilot. So in our case we have already created the one copilot, so we will show you that one, the one which is already created. But before showing that, I would like to make you familiar with that how we are going to use this copilot, what are the more settings available over here. So first we have to set this SharePoint site as a source for a generative AI. So for that purpose also, from here, as well as you can just click from the left menu also, there is a generative AI also available. From there, then you can just go ahead once you done the settings over here. Then under this use AI features in your copilot, you can enable the boost conversational with generative answers. So it will help you to get the details. So you can ask a travel related questions to the copilot, and then it can answers from the SharePoint. Yeah, so from here you can do that. So let me go to back to my PPT. So might be from the PPT it will be easy for you also to understand because the screenshots are already provided over here. Okay. So once we are done with this conversational boosting topics is there. So what we have to do is the conversational boosting topic enhances the Copilot to responses with the contextual answers from the website, SharePoint sites, and the documents, etc. So there is a topic checker. So once you clicked on the topic checker, it will give you error because it will ask you for some of the authentication. Let's say, for example, you are inside that window where you have a proper access, then over here it will not give you that error. But once you move out of that context, then definitely it will ask you some of the things like authentication and it will give you this error. So how you are going to fix that authentication error? So for that purpose, what we have to do is we have to go to the settings and the security. So let me go back to my Copilot and let me show you. Okay, so for the settings and security. So from there, you can just click on the authentication, and then there are different options available for the authentication. Okay, so whatever the options you are going to select, as per that your Copilot will behave. So what exactly this authentication? So it's verify the user's identity during a conversation. So first option, there is a no authentication. So the publicly available in any channel. The second one is the authenticate with Microsoft. So description is already provided. It's the intra-ID authentication in Teams and the Power Apps. So third one is authenticate manually. It is like once you select that authenticate manually, then it will ask you some of the code. And once you add that code, then it will allow you to log in and interact with our Copilot. It is same like we are using this authenticator. So for this authenticator manually, for example, let's say you are selecting the require user sign in. Then in that case, what are the other options you have to provide? You have to provide a redirect URL, service provider. In our case, we are taking this Azure Active Directory V2. Then we have to provide a client ID, client secret, and other things. And the scope is also over there. So all other things we can get it from the Azure portal. Okay. So for that purpose, what you have to do first thing is you have to go to your Azure portal. So as might be you all are already familiar how you can just create this app registration. So once you are in Azure portal, from the left side you can click on the app registration, and once you clicked on the app registration, so you can create a new app registration as well as you can use the existing app registration also, so created for this Copilot. Okay. After that, the next step is you have to add the redirect URL. Yeah, as shown in this Copilot authentication panel. So there was a mandatory thing for this authentication URL. The next thing is what you have to do. You have to go to your certificates and the secrets and you have to create a new client secret. If you have already one existing one, if you have all the details, then you can use that one. If you don't have, don't worry. From the left menu, you can just click on the certification and secret. So over there, you will able to see create a new client secret. So by using that one, you can link, you can just create a new one and you can just use that one. So now we have, let's say we have created these secrets also, we have a secret. So the next thing is we have to consider what exactly the API permissions are there. So we have to add, these are some of the graph API permission as a delegated. Okay. So the first one is the reads files.reads.all. So the type is delegated. So it will help you to read all the files that the user can access. The second one is we need OpenID. Again, type is delegated and it is required for the sign in user details. So the third one is to check the user profile basic details, that is the profile permission. Again, it is also delegated. And the last one, most important also, to read the items in the SharePoint site collection. It is a type of delegated where we need the site.reads.all. So once we provide all that permissions, then the next thing is we have to update all of these configurations in our Copilot. So once this all this intra ID setup is done, we have to reflect all the values into our Copilot configuration. So once that everything is done, then you are ready to use your Copilot. So now let's go ahead and let me just show you. So let's just ask us for the some of the states over here for our Copilot, and let's say what exactly the answer it will give. So the expected answer, it should go to our SharePoint site. It should search for that one, for the Dubai details, and it should show us all of the details. So now you can see it has given us the details, and then there are the citations available over here. As I mentioned, citation nothing is nothing but where the source from where you are getting all these details. So now you can just publish this Copilot, and there are some of the options, like for example, let's say go ahead and it will allow you to publish it in a Teams also, as well as there are multiple channels available over there also. You can just do that, like Microsoft Teams, as well as for example, let's say you have any SharePoint page, so you can just go into that SharePoint page. There is a already this code is available, so you can just copy paste that code. So now we are in the context over here for this Copilot. So if you go outside, let's say Microsoft Teams, and over there if you try to access it, then it will ask you for this authentication code. So you will get that code, you have to provide that code. After that it will do that authentication, and it will help you to use your Copilot.
Okay, so probably this was a pretty much simple use case, like how we'll be able to use documents with SharePoint or Copilot specifically. Now that let's get to the other equation, like for how we'll be able to use list with the Copilot Studio. Okay, because one thing is clear. For example, if you're uploading the documents to to the Copilot, so that means that there is a document onto which it can create a chunk and create a semantic index based on that, and then it can use that semantic index while answering the questions from the user. But for example, when it comes to the list, probably we don't have direct option to specify the list, and again, list data is bit of structured data, so again creating an index on top of it is probably bit difficult or bit tricky. Okay, so now that let's see, like for example, if you still want to go ahead and create Copilot which is based out of list, how we can do that. So for example, I just want to show you one of the lists that we have created here, which just has got the schema of title and description. So it is kind of a policy kind of an this schema that we have got. So where we are listing the name of the policy into the title, and then description about that policy into the description section or description column. Okay, so that means we just have got information in a structured format with the help of those policies. So here you can see that we do have one list called as policy guides. So if I go into this policy guides, we have got some policies created which just have got only two things: name of the policy and description of the policy. Okay, so there is nothing else. And yeah, the location, for example, if you want to read more about that policy. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a Copilot on top of it, so that whenever we will ask simple questions about any of the policy, it will be able to answer those. Okay, so let me just go back to the Copilot, and I will show you the Copilot that we have created for this purpose, which can help you to interact or talk to your SharePoint list and then give you the information. So here is the Copilot that we have got, called as policy Copilot. So it gets connected to this SharePoint list using Power Automate Flow. It searches for the information and then get the information back. So only kind of a technical challenge that we have got here is, like as I said, SharePoint search mostly work with the keyword based search. So until and unless you are getting that exact keyword into the user question, you will not be able to make a search on that. So The second aspect here is like whenever we are working with Copilot, probably we just use the NLP, natural language processing. So we just simply ask the questions in a plain English language, like tell me about any of the policies. So, for example, remote work policy. So let us try to ask this question here. So tell me uh, about remote work policy. Okay. So now that what should happen from here is that it should be able to get connected to SharePoint and give us the information about that remote work policy that we have got there. So this information is not into the SharePoint document library or nowhere into the documents, so that there is no semantic index for that. But in the background, this particular Copilot is trying to reach to that document library we have got here and then get the information. So even from here, you can see that it is connecting to our instance of SharePoint list, and then from here it is going to that remote work.spx, which is the policy which is mentioned here. Okay, so remote work.spx. So how will we able to create this kind of a Copilot? Okay, so let's get into that. So here you can see that we have not added any of the knowledge, because obviously when we try to use SharePoint as a source, there is only one limitation that we can probably just give the information which is in the form of documents, probably not to the list, but still we can get workaround with that, and then we'll be able to use Power Automate kind of an capabilities here to answer the queries. Okay, so for that, let me go into the topics, and then let me go into the conversation boosting from where the things happen. So what we are doing here is like we do have our Power Automate flow. So that Power Automate flow help us to get the information about this. So this is the Power Automate flow that you can see, which is called as policy Copilot flow. And for example, if I go into the details of it, what we are doing is right now you must have seen that I have asked the normal plain English question like tell me about remote work policy. But the dominant kind of an keywords here are that I'm trying to know about remote work policy. Okay, so there is a policy which is probably a remote work, and I want to know more about that. So what we need to do is in this case we'll have to use something called as an AI builder kind of an AI builder kind of an possibilities, and from there we need to extract out the entities of what the user is trying to say, so that we can get those major entities from there, and then we'll be able to query SharePoint based out of those entities. So from here you can see that as soon as we trigger this workflow from this Copilot topic, it gets here, and then we just pass the information as it is the activity text which is given by the user. For example, tell me about remote work policy as it is here. Then on top of that, what we do is we just have used this AI builder capability to create a text with GPT using a prompt. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to extract out the entities, and the entity that we want to extract out from the user input is the policy. So that means what will happen is whenever I will ask any of the questions which are related to the policy, it will apply that AI extraction algorithm on top of it, and then it will only extract the entity which is associated with that natural language. Okay, so it could be English or maybe some other language. So it will specifically give us that policy which user is asking for. So from there we can just use use this kind of a thing to extract out the exact information to get the exact policy. So this part is just doing that. So now that once we get that exact policy name, the next thing that what we want to do is we need to get out those items from SharePoint. So from here you can see that I'm connecting to the SharePoint site called as Market Travels, where we have the list called as policy guides, and then again from here we are just trying to get all of the items. Once we get all the items, we can apply the select query on top of it. The question probably that you will ask, like in this get item itself, we could have applied the filter, but that will work when you have less than 5,000 policies. When you will hit the threshold limit in SharePoint, obviously those filtering will not work. So to avoid that, we just need to get all of the items and then apply the select condition on top of it. So what we are doing here is we are just using select so that we can transform that data into the title, content, and content location. Again, why we are doing that is whenever we are trying to give the information back to the users using the generative answers, there are certain data sources. So, for example, if I click on edit of the data sources, here you can see that we have the options like we can add the data source which is in the form of this custom data, and it accepts the information in the form of um, title, content, and content location. So that is the reason we are composing this particular information in these three forms of title, content, and content location. Then we just apply out the filter so that we can just filter out on that specific entity which user has asked for by using the contains. So that means everything that contains that policy, for example, the remote work will be given to us, and then we just simply create the JSON output uh, out of that, and then return that back to the user. So that's the reason whenever you ask for any of the policy information, you're going to get the information by looking into the SharePoint list. Okay, so this is the simple thing that we can do with SharePoint. So the only difference here is like when you are working with SharePoint documents, obviously those documents can be indexed. There can be semantic index built onto it internally by your Copilot, and then it will be able to answer the questions by looking at that semantic index. But when it comes to the list kind of an operations, probably we don't have those capabilities as of yet. So to avoid or maybe to overcome that limitation, we can use this AI builds kind of an capabilities to extract out the entities and then again perform the normal keyword search on top of SharePoint list to get the information and pass it back to our Copilot. And that's the reason whenever we are asking the questions about any of the policy, or it could be any of the entity that you have got in your SharePoint ecosystem, it will help you to get the answers out of that. And again, it will include everything. For example, the description that you have put there, or as well as the reference links that you have added, so that it will give the authenticity to your users that this is the information which is coming from some kind of an trusted source. Okay, so now that let's move to the last topic of our discussion, which is more about the security part of it. So let's say, for example, if in general you are using the Copilot, the normal Copilot, okay, it's not yet loaded. So let's say, for example, if you are using Microsoft 365 Copilot, even it surfaces all of the information that we have got uh, from from SharePoint there. So if in case, let's say you have got few SharePoint documents uploaded into the SharePoint, then if you ask the questions on top of that, it can place the answers and have information from those sources. Okay, so let's say, for example, if I ask a question like, show me the from Autosoti, which is one of the customer, and I do have probably access to those documents. So in that case, what can happen is like, for example, if I as a user has got access to that document, it can go ahead and simply give the information. So if I just say that we do apply action, and from here you can see that it is getting that information. And if you observe uh, observe the link here, it is um, taking the information from a SharePoint document library. Okay, so now that let's say, for example, all this kind of an information is being surfaced from SharePoint, but for some reason you do not want all of the SharePoint site to appear in Copilot results, and that is where we have something called as an SharePoint restricted search or restricted SharePoint search. So what this does is it will help you to securely search the content in SharePoint. So restricted SharePoint search allows the organizations to securely search the content in SharePoint, and they can limit the search results to only authorized kind of an users or group. So this will definitely help prevent the italics and any kind of an unauthorized access to sensitive information. And then by controlling like who can access certain data, organizations can definitely better protect their information and as well maintain the compliance with the industry regulations. All right, so unfortunately I do not have the working demo for that, but the demo that I just wanted to show you, like let's say, for example, if you have not enabled that feature, not have enabled the restricted search in your environment, in that case, we'll be able to search everything across SharePoint wherever you have got access. And then once you connect to your SharePoint tenant and run this command called as getf_spo tenant restricted search mode, it will give you the restricted search mode result that you have got onto your tenant. By default, this one will be disabled. For example, if you are running it for first time, then you will have to make that enable so that you are restricting the Copilot to get the information from certain sites, and this is how you will be able to mention them. So like you can just mention like which are those trusted sites which are allowed to appear into Copilot. And let's say, for example, if the finance or the other sites are not there, in that case, Copilot will not have access to, or we will not be able to access those sites or documents or the information which is into the sites which are coming under this restricted search, and then it will not show you that. So as an impact of that, whenever you will again go back to the Copilot, at the top here you can see that there will be an warning appear to you. For example, your organization admin has restricted the Copilot from accessing certain SharePoint site, and then again this may impact the Copilot search. Okay, so but this is kind of a very good feature, so that we are not exposing the entire SharePoint information to be accessed by your Copilot, but we are restricting that so that only certain users as well as certain sites will start appearing into your Copilot search. Okay. All right. So with that, I guess we are coming to the end of our session. We just wanted to cover those three major points until we have the SharePoint Copilot available from Microsoft, generally available from Microsoft. You can keep using the semantic index based document search. Secondly, for example, if you have got your data into a SharePoint list, then obviously you can use that trick of using AI Builder and try to get to your data by using those references, or maybe using those kind of a thing of having the keyword search mixed with the AI builder, and then that can help you. And then thirdly, for example, if you do not want the entire SharePoint sites to be available or to be exposed to your Copilot and for all the users, you can definitely restrict that. Okay, so I guess that covers most of the things on the use cases are built around SharePoint. All right. So with that, we are open for any questions. And if in case you do not have any questions right now, but if in case in the future, here are our social media handles: LinkedIn, blog, as well as Twitter. So please go ahead and give us a shout there, and we'll be more than happy to get this discussion ahead on that. And with that, once more, thank you very much for attending this session, and thank you very much, Arash, for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
So we are open to the questions. If there are any, we can definitely cover those. Probably now I can try switching on my cam if in case that works.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
several interrupting there at the time. So thank you so much, both guys. Actually, it's Smita and Nanddeep for this great session. So it was lots of things for our learners, actually for myself as well. So I'm not seeing any question here. If guys and everyone, if you have any question, please put in the chat box. So I will bring it to the screen, and Nanddeep and Smita will answer to your question. I have a question here. It might be, or attendees actually question that how about the licensing here, about the Copilot licensing for this? For example, in my organization, I have I'm using the E5, E3, Microsoft 365 license, or and it's include the Power Platform, for example, Power Apps, Power Automate license, and it will let me to use this product. So how about the Copilot? Do I need to have a separate license for the Copilot Studio to build this Copilot for the SharePoint, or I need to pay for an additional license or extra additional subscription here?
Correct. So, for example, if you want to get access to Copilot Studio, there is a separate license, but you can start with the 60 days kind of a free trial Copilot license to try out all of those capabilities. At the same time, even we had shown sort of using the AI Builder. So AI Builder again has got its own license, and again based on how many prompts that you are using against that, there will be a separate billing for that, because we were trying to use that entity extraction kind of a thing. So there will be separate thing for that. But definitely for Copilot Studio, there will be a license, but you can at any time start with the 60 days free trial, and then you can keep extending that. So again, for example, in the past, if you have used Power Virtual Agent, even Power Virtual Agent had got its
Mhm.
own set of license. But again, you can keep extending that by 30 days if in case if you are just using that for your development purpose. So similar thing applies here as well. But only thing is, here we do have the generative AI kind of a feature. So that means the consumption that you are doing with generative AI will be more compared to just the topic creation. So for example, if you are just using the topics and then using those topics to create your bots, in that
Mhm.
case, you will have some lesser billing being consumed. So there are conversations based on that you get charged. So basically, it's like for example, if you just exchange one message with the Copilot, you're consuming at least uh, one what you say one conversation. But if in case you're using the AI builder or generative AI kind of capabilities, then mostly you are consuming those three conversations. So again, I'm not exactly remember like how many consumptions
Mhm.
that we can have per month, but there is a limitation on that. But only one thing is, if you're using those topic-based conversation, you just consume 1 unit. If in case you're using the generative AI, you consume 3 units out of those. But again, it depends on license to license as well. But yeah, if in case you want to get started with that, you will definitely need a
Mhm.
license for the Copilot Studio.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And another question is in my mind is I saw that you use the Copilot action in the Power Automate flow. Does it require the Power Automate premium license to use that specific action
Um,
there?
correct, correct. No, Miss, at least it is not premium one. Let me just go back there. I don't think so. It is premium. So, for example, if you are using this, um, the one GPT one for the AI builder, in that case,
Hmm.
there will be a consumption. But the Copilot, sorry, the SharePoint one is a standard kind of a license that we have got here, or
Hmm.
standard kind of a connector that we have got here.
Okay. And sorry, I have some question here, so it might be, or attendees actually question. So another thing is, for example, I'm using the SharePoint online for my daily basis, work, everything in my company. So I'm going to create this Copilots for SharePoint through the Copilot Studio. So I would like to have it, as a chat box in the SharePoint site, you know, I
Correct.
think you mentioned that it's possible, right? So
Yeah,
how we
it is
can do
possible.
this, and have
Correct.
a
Correct.
chat box
Correct.
in the
Sure.
SharePoint
We,
site?
we can show it. Yeah. Correct. So for that, what we need to do is we just need to go into these channels, and then here we have got something called as an embed, or is it remote right now? Let me just check. Oh yeah, probably we can go into custom website. Oh, here you can
Hmm.
see that
Yeah, the
even
customers.
mine was done, but I can still extend the trial version. Okay, so if in case we just go to the
Hmm.
custom website, uh, okay, the channel turned off because the authentication setting. Oh, okay, so let me just go back to the other Copilot that Smita had created there. Because that one has got the correct authentication being set for this to get exposed to SharePoint. So let it load. So in that case, what it will do, it will just give you the embed kind of a code that we just need to put onto our SharePoint site, and then from there it will work. So here you can see that this one is the embedded code. Okay, so we just need to
Hmm.
copy this embed code. We need to go to the SharePoint site. So let's say, for example, this is the SharePoint site that we have got,
Hmm.
um, and then we just need to put it there. So if I go to the site pages, um, okay, let's say we do have travel bot here. Okay, let us try to use this one. Okay, let me just edit this. So in this we do have one web part. Okay, I don't recollect the exact name of that, but it is a web part. Okay, embed web part, and yeah, fortunately I do have that web part here already. So what we just need to do is to that embed web part. Probably let me just delete that and probably try to add it one more time. So here you just need to add a web part called as embed. Okay, so this is the embed web part, and then you can just click add embed code and put your code
Mm-hmm.
here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there it should work. All right, it is. Let me just try to republish and let's see. So once you republish, this is the code. It will run here, and then you will be able to see your Copilot. Okay. So here you can see that the Market Copilot is coming up. So here you can type your message, and this is the code Smita was talking about because we have set the authentication to the third option that we had got there. So once you click login, it will. This is the one-time kind of a thing that you will have to do whenever you will access that session for the first time. So this is a
Mm-hmm.
code that you will get. You will have to put that code here in the chat itself, and then here is your Copilot. So for example, again, if I say like suggest me uh, hotels in Dubai, it should be able to get that information from that document, and everything is happening inside of the SharePoint page. Okay, so here you can see that even we do have the citation. So one thing that we need to do to make it work in SharePoint is to get that embed code. So there could be
Okay.
some other options as well, but this is the option that I generally use to get the
Mm-hmm.
embed code and add that embed code onto the page.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I'm just wondering to know that if it's possible that we have it as a, as a, a
Page.
chat, but at the right side, as a pop-up dialog, something like this. You see that in the
Mhm.
internet site, you see as a
Correct.
uh,
Correct.
uh,
Um,
accordion at the
right.
right side sometimes. I think it's required that we develop something through the PMP, sorry, in the
Correct.
SharePoint framework, right? As an
Yeah,
extension
correct,
here.
correct. So correct. Yeah, but at least even I do remember seeing that solution somewhere. I do not recollect exactly this name of that solution, but I guess it is available under the PNP repository, so that there will be a button
Hmm.
or maybe a chatbot kind of an icon. Once you click on that icon, again it will
Right.
do the same thing. It will open up the iframe kind of a thing, which will include your embed code, and then from there you can keep chatting to that Copilot. So
Yeah.
yeah, but there is a solution available. I have just seen that, but even I did not get chance to work on that. Means that is to experience that myself.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any question, please put in the chat. If not, so we are going to wrap up the session and uh, end the today's session. No.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you,
Ash
everyone.
for
Thank
this
you.
opportunity.
Nanddeep.
It's been great to be here. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then
Thank you.
for example, if someone has got questions afterward, please feel free to get in touch with us on LinkedIn or Twitter, and then we
Yeah.
can take this discussion ahead.
Sure.
And once again, thank you very much for conducting this entire series. Quite beneficial for the community. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
that.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Bye. See you soon.